Hi, I'm Dennis Gage, host of the television show My Classic Car, and welcome to the Oldsmobile, Pontiac, and Buick edition of legendary muscle cars. We've put together our own private collection of GM muscle as seen on My Classic Car. Some of the rare and sometimes overlooked cars include the 66 Buick Riviera GS, the 68 Buick GS Colorado, and the 70 GMC Sprint. And of course, classics like the 65 GTO, the 69 GTO Judge, and the 72 Firebird Trans Am. This DVD will transport you to events like Old's 100th anniversary and the beautiful Eyes on design. There's also extras like a look back at Harley Earl, as well as a very special peek inside the vault of GM design concepts and historics. So get ready for your own personal tour of GM Mania.
Larry, welcome to the show.
Thanks, it's a pleasure to be here with you today.
You know, Larry, in the course of this show, we talk to rodders and customizers and people that are into factory-accurate restorations. You're a bit of a mix of all three of those, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Well, what we've got here to talk about is your 65 GTO, and I want you to tell me about it and tell me about some of the tweaks you've made to it.
Let's go through it.
Well, 65 was really the second year of GTO, but perhaps the first real year of the car. Is that right?
That's true. You know, they did the one in 64, which they really snuck out the back door. DeLorean and Wangers, who was from the advertising agency, they put this car and snuck it out the door. In 65, it got a full factory backup. They did a big advertising campaign, which we both know to be the Tiger theme. Right. Tiger in the tank, Tiger paw tires, Tiger under the hood. Everything was Tiger.
And you were a Tiger if you drove one.
Absolutely. You got that right.
Well, I also noticed those tires are a little beefier than stock too, aren't they?
Yeah, there's a little more meat under there than they had 65 with those little skinny 775 Redline Tiger paw tires. We got some serious tire here. These are a set of BF Goodrich radial TAs mounted on a reproduction set of original Rally 1 wheels.
Well, now, when I first looked at the interior of your car, the thing that jumped out at me was this fascia plate on the instrument cluster.
Right, that's kind of an interesting deal. Originally in 65, this car came with a wood veneer applique that was on the around the instruments. And I didn't think that fitted the character or theme of the car, and so what I did was, that's a 64 applique, that engine turning, and I thought that more befitted a high performance image than wood like you'd find in a Bonneville.
And then that other gauge there, which most people at first glance say is a tack, that's actually a vacuum manifold
gauge, that's right, and that measures the amount of vacuum in the intake manifold. And originally back in the 60s, that was used to cause people to drive more conservatively, you know, to try to make for fuel economy, but it was a dealer installed option.
What do you say we look under the hood and see what gives this Tiger its grr?
Oh, there's some serious Tiger growl under here. You've got a real 389 tri-power engine hiding under the hood. And this is a very representative engine of what you'd have found in a 65 GTO, except we've got some treats here too. You'll notice that surrounding these tri-power carburetors is a ram air tub with the foam sealing element. And if you were to look through the hood, you would find that it's open. Instead of this part being closed, these are open. So it's really the same scoop with openings. So when you seal it, it seals against the foam, and the only air this engine can get is from the outside. So it's fresh air, it's cooler, denser air, which makes for more horsepower.
And those are 3 Rochesters.
They most certainly are. They're 3 Rochester 2-barrel carburetors.
And in 64, it was actually a vacuum linkage.
In 64, all the parts you see over here was vacuum actuated, where in 65 they actually went to mechanical actuation on the progressive throttle linkage, which was what this is. It runs on the center carb. And then when you hit the gas pedal real hard, it actually opens your 2 outboard carburetors up mechanically with the actuating rods.
And what kind of horsepower was this thing rated at when?
This car was rated at 360 horsepower brand new with the tri-power. That was the option over the 4-barrel.
Then how about the valve covers? Those are a little bit different, aren't they?
Yeah, you know, we've tried to be period correct with the car, and we have made changes that a person would have made if they bought this car and built it in 65 and improved on it. Those are Cal Custom valve covers from the mid-60s. They're aluminum castings with the deep ribs, and I had them chromed, and they are period correct for a 65 Pontiac.
Well, I also noticed when I first saw this, something that was a bit different than stock were the lights up here.
Ah, my parking lamps. I will give credit to Chuck Roberts for giving me the inspiration to do that. His GTO, which has been featured in many magazines like the one you have, he had mounted a pair of Grand Prix parking lamps in the grill and obviated the original ones that were mounted down here, the small ones. And I thought it was a really nice individualistic touch. It's a Pontiac factory part. It wasn't originally on a GTO, but I thought that it gave it so much charm and character that only a person like you with your knowledge of these cars would pick it up. But it really is a nice touch. It gives it a lot of character.
I like it. Well, I tell you what, let's close it up and take this kitty out.
Hey, let's fasten your seatbelt and go out and scare you.
Remember, we have only one rule: don't kill the host.
Absolutely not. Sit at a stoplight and the hood's shaking and the car's shaking and the cam's racking. It's like, this is great. This is what it's all about. This is car stuff. If you're not a car guy, you don't understand.
Today we're down in Gainesville, Florida with Don McCullen. Don, great to have you on the show. I thought it was supposed to be warm down here in Florida.
Usually it is,
but
not today.
Well, we got a very, very hot car though. It's Don's 66 Buick Riv GS. I absolutely love these cars, Don. How long have you had this one?
About 2 years.
And did you have to basically restore this completely, or?
It wound up being a pretty complete job.
Beautiful body style though. You know, the Riv came out in 63, 3, 4, 5 were pretty much similar cars. This was quite a departure from the first body style. What all was changed?
Well, they changed every body panel on it and the car grew a little bit, so it wound up a little wider, a little longer. More room inside is probably the most significant thing.
Lost the wing window, didn't you?
Right, that's one of the things that got changed. They took the vent windows off, and that was supposed to make them ride a little quieter with the vent windows off, and then you'd have your flow-through ventilation that would come back and come out here.
Okay, so that was, now, did that operate all the time, or did you turn it on or off? Or
well, it was kind of a system that didn't require anything. You turn on the heat, and it would create pressure inside, and it would let the air blow out. If you turn on the vent, it would let the air blow out, and then it wouldn't let any in. It's kind of a one-way valve.
That's nice. And you know, moving on back, still a Riv, but there's some changes here too. What's
yes,
different?
in the 63 and 4, they had the taillights up in the trunk area that came down a little deeper. And then in the 65, they had the taillights down in the bumper. And then 66, they kind of put them in the middle there in a cove, which gave it a nice clean look.
Well, and clean is sort of the theme for this car, isn't it? I mean, it's just all the lines.
I always thought so, and it's free of any scoops and gewgaws and stuff that it didn't really need.
Now the interior too is like you say, it's a little bit bigger. You know, and it came, now you've got that barrel speedometer.
Right, that's a different speedometer than they had in the first 3 years. The first 3 years was a round speedometer with a needle that looked fairly like a typical speedometer.
Yeah, and this I mean, this looks a lot like a Tornado of 66.
Well, they share the same GME body.
And you know, for that reason, I guess this kind of got passed over to a certain extent. All the hoo-ha was around the Tornado.
Right, the Tornado got all the press because it was the front-wheel drive, and the Riviera still had the normal rear-wheel drive. Riviera didn't change that all the way up until 79.
Wow. Well, you know, so there's some other design cues left over from the first version, though, isn't there? I mean, this front here is reminiscent of the first car.
Yes, it is, but first version had the light on both sides of the fender. And this one just has it on this side of the fender.
Under the hood, though, is what I really love in this car, because you got the big one. You got the dual
2
quads.
4s.
Yeah, well, let's open it up.
They always look good, those 2
Don't
4s.
Wow. Now, That's a 425 cubic inch engine, correct?
Yes.
And that was the only engine you got with the Riv.
Right, it was either the 425 with a 4-barrel or with the 2 4s.
And then with the single 4-barrel, how many horsepower?
340.
And with the 2?
It was 360.
Okay, so it really wasn't that much of a change. You got a little bit of extra horsepower.
Well, 20 more horsepower.
Yeah, but it is a great looking engine. Now, how good was the engine when you got the car?
Well, we pulled the heads off and it looked clean inside, and we just did a little bit of a valve job and put it back together again, and ran fine. It ran fine to begin with, but you know, when you're restoring one, when you want to get a look inside.
Yeah.
Make sure you don't do all that work and then find out you got to pull the engine down.
Well, when you opened it up, I'd forgotten how wild these things look when you open them up, because, oh, there's the headlights.
Pointing up.
Pointing up.
Up under the shelf of the hood.
So they really didn't hide the headlights away with a door or anything. They just pulled them out of the way for this car. And is it a
They would swing down with an electric motor.
good running car?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Good running.
Yeah. Well, what do you say we take it out for a good run?
Sounds like a good idea.
All right, button it up. It might have been a cloudy day, but I had a great time cruising around the Sunshine State in this '66 Riviera. Would you consider this the second generation of Riv?
Well, absolutely, the second generation.
It is
of the
second
Riv.
generation.
Although they did use the Riviera name to describe hardtops
Yeah, back in the 50s.
from 49
Yeah,
up.
but 63, 4, 5 were one body style, and then this one came along.
The second generation.
Now, what all changes took place between the 63, 4, and 5 and then into 66?
Well, the 66 got a little bit bigger, but not too much bigger, a little wider. Like every sheet metal panel on it was changed. But they did stay with the same general chassis, which was an X-frame.
Uh-huh. And where were the two in the in the whole hierarchy of GM? I mean, was Riv or Tornado?
Well,
Or were they?
Riviera, the whole Buick line is supposed to be just under Cadillac, and then Olds is just under Buick.
And what was this always? Who was the target for the Riv? The Riv is sort of a kind of a luxury sports car, or
Well,
what do they call it?
At GM, they saw Thunderbird selling so well, and they wanted to have a car to compete with that. So they finally got it together and got out the 63 Riviera.
So it's kind of a Thunderbird competitor, huh?
Right.
That is one smooth running Riv.
They knew what they were doing then.
They sure did.
They built them right.
I love this car. Cool day, took a while to get it warmed up. Let's not waste this heat. What do you say we roll a little bit more?
Let's do it.
All right, let's go. We got a gorgeous day in northern Colorado. I'm here with Dan Carr. Dan, good to see you.
Thank you. Welcome, Dennis.
And this gorgeous 68 Buick GS Colorado. I mean, this is a Colorado special, right?
That's right. It was a Buick made something called a GS California in 68 and 69, and this was a local Colorado edition done by some dealers in Denver.
So it's really a dealer package, right?
Yes.
And is it pretty much a trim package that made it the Colorado special? What all did you get when you got the Colorado special?
Basically, you got a GS package on a special deluxe model, which is a little different than the GS 350 that was on the Skylark.
How about this 350 Stage I?
That's something I did. I built what I envisioned a 350 Buick Stage I V8 might be like.
So you look at the back quarter and you got the Buick insignia, you got GS, you got Colorado, you got a lot going on there.
Correct.
Was that actually a GM part?
I believe the Colorado emblems were manufactured by the local dealers and basically substituted for the California emblems when the cars came off the truck.
I bet they're hard to find.
Yeah, they are. Fortunately, I had a good pair on this car when I got it, but I haven't seen many.
So this is actually a post car.
Right, it's based on a special deluxe two-door post sedan. It was a budget muscle car, basically. And it's about 200 pounds lighter than a Skylark.
Is that right? And the Skylark would have been a pillarless car.
Correct.
Now, for a budget muscle car, it still looks pretty nice inside.
Yeah, I really like this interior. It's a black cloth and vinyl interior. It's all original, except we've replaced the carpeting.
Now the front end, you've got one more GS logo that lets you know what's coming at you.
Yes, that's the same as all the GS models have that same emblem on the grill.
Well, let's have a look at that 350 engine. Wow, wild air cleaner.
Yeah, that's actually a 1967 Buick GS so-called Star Wars air cleaner.
Luke, I am your father. But it works. It looks great in there.
I really like it, and I had it sitting around, so I painted it to match the car.
Oh, it really sets it off. Now, the 350 was the first year for the 350?
Yeah, 68 was the first year for Buick 350. Motor Trend magazine gave it high marks, saying it was a big improvement over the previous year's 340.
What kind of horsepower?
280 horsepower, about 350 foot-pounds of torque.
Revs pretty well, I bet?
Yeah, the way the motor's built, it really likes to get going about 3,000 RPM.
Oh, well. Let's do some, what do you say we do some Colorado cruising in this Colorado special?
Okay, let's make it go.
Oh, I like the sound of that. Love this character line down the side on these Buicks too. I think that looks great.
Yeah, I really like the styling on these 68 Buicks. It's bold but elegant.
I absolutely love this part of the country. And what better way to enjoy the Colorado scenery than taking a spin in Dan's 68 Buick GS?
So, Dan, were these all bench seat cars?
Yes, I believe that every GS California Colorado had a bench seat. They were pretty Spartan as far as options that were available. This is the only one I've ever seen, a GS Colorado that came with air conditioning.
Well, it's kind of warm today. I'm actually thankful for that.
It is. It's an unusually hot day here in Colorado.
The Colorado script, do you think they just designed that, made it locally, or where do you think it came from?
I don't know who would have actually made it, but the script, the lettering font is very similar to the California. It's almost as if they tried to make it as close to the California as possible while changing the name.
Well, 350 sounds pretty strong, feels pretty strong. What all do you, I mean, it's a good engine to begin with, but what do you do to it?
We used cam and aluminum intake from a TA Performance. It's not easy to find Buick Performance parts, but if you know where to look, you can find some, and that's one of the reasons I decided to keep that 350 in this. A lot of people said, well, I'll put a 455 Buick in it. I thought, well, I could certainly do that, but I thought, well, since every GS California or Colorado came with a 350, and people don't build the 350s that much, I thought, I'll give it a try.
Now, the three dealers that made these things must have gotten together and decided to do it. I mean, was there that kind of love between them, or?
Yeah, you would think they would want to compete somehow more, but the three biggest Buick dealers in Denver got together to make this package.
And how many did you say you think they sold in 68?
I think there were about 3,500 GS Californias sold in 68, and an unknown, relatively small percentage of those were converted to the GS Colorado. And I am guessing about 200.
Very nice, Dan. You know, I kind of got this Rocky Mountain High thing going.
Well, thanks very much. I enjoyed it.
Oh, it was great. We're not far from Estes Park, are we?
No, we're not.
Rocky Mountain National, here we come.
Let's do it.
All right.
Trail Ridge Road.
Today we're at Albright Pontiac in Lagodi, Indiana with Ray Hopkins. Ray, welcome to the show.
Good to meet you, Dennis.
And this ultra rare 69 Ram 5 GTO Judge. This thing's gorgeous, Ray.
Thank you, Dennis.
These things were wild, weren't they? I mean, they were made to pop.
They were made to go.
And the Judge was really created to what? To kind of bolster slumping sales?
Exactly. In late 68, they come up with something that they wanted to be very distinguishable between it and the standard GTO and help with sales, so they added the stripe package.
Well, and this was the original color of the first 2000. It was carousel red, even though it's orange.
Right, right.
Well, the other thing that set the Judge off was, of course, the rear spoiler and the
badges.
The badging, the 1970s era Peter Max laugh-in.
Right.
Because it came from, what, Flip Wilson? Here
right.
come the Judge. Here come the Judge. But they tried to make something that screamed, and it did, didn't it?
It did. It did do that, Dennis.
Now, was the striping unique to the Judge?
Yes. All the Judges had the same striping package up to 1970, and 70 and 71 used a two-piece striping set. But yes, this is a unique option on the 69.
Now inside there's a few other things that say Judge, including another Judge badge over there.
Right, the glove box emblem and the T-handle shifter, along with the walnut wheel steering wheel.
Then, of course, you've got the ram air inlet controls, which
That would close things down in bad weather, right?
Right,
So you were
right, to
sucking water in there.
prevent inclement weather.
But I don't see air conditioning. It's pretty Spartan inside.
Yes, it was basically a bare bones car.
Power steering?
Power steering, no.
No power steering.
No power steering.
But it's really from here forward that makes this the only car of its kind on Earth.
Yes.
It's the Ram 5.
Yes, due to the fact that it has supposedly the one and only Delco Remy Ram Air 5 hood tack with the upshift lights ranging from green to red.
Oh, so as you rev, they, you know,
exactly.
green, amber, red, shift.
You're right.
Now the Ram 5 was, I mean, that was a full-blown race engine.
Exactly, Dennis.
Well, let's have a look at that baby.
Sure, sure.
Oh man, I mean, we're in a showroom and it's appropriate because this thing is showroom beautiful.
Well, thank you, Dennis.
Now the 400 Ram Air came with a big Harley carburetor, didn't it?
Exactly. It come with a 780 CFM vacuum operated dual line Harley carburetor.
Instead of the Quadrajet that came on the other
The
one.
traditional Quadrajet.
Now what else was unique to the Ram Air 5?
Okay, it had the steel forged crank, steel forged rods, aluminum 11.5:1 compression ratio pistons, the dual plane intake,
It's a monster intake.
and then of course the billet underdrive pulleys.
And it's a solid lifter engine, right?
A mechanical lifter
Yeah.
engine. Right.
Now, what is it that makes this one so unique, though?
The thing that sets this apart from all the rest is the fact that it has the only set of A-body manifolds known to exist are in fact on this car.
On the exhaust manifolds, A-body, the only ones around.
Right.
Now, this car was created, right? It really
Right.
never happened.
Right. A collector out of Stanton, Virginia, by the name of Ralph Gilson, contacted purely PMD, and they were able to obtain the Pontiac archives and see what in fact would go on a Ram Air 5 car if built. And that's exactly what they did, was build a matching numbers Ram Air 5.
Man, now this was an option, but it really wasn't even a factory installed option, the Ram 5,
Right, it had to be dealer installed, an over-the-counter option. Most of the Ram Air 5s, I think there was speculation that 80 some built, but most of those were sold to corporates and racers affiliated with GM.
Now, I think this was always rated at 375 horse, but that wasn't even close.
No, in fact, dyno results more revealing 500 to 525 horse.
Man! Well, now, this didn't have many options. It's a cool day out there, but I think it's got a heater. Is that
It
right?
does have a
It does
heater.
have a heater. Well, what do you say we get our jackets and take this out and heat it up a little bit?
Okay, sounds great.
All right. Well, it's got a beautiful sound to it.
Throaty.
Very
Real-
throaty.
real-
Yeah, it's very different
It's
than
a lot like the big block LS6s, and similar to the,
Yeah, it does.
the Chevrolet.
Now, is the exhaust any different on
No,
this than a
it's-
stock
It's
GTO?
all factory exhaust.
Boy, it's definitely a different sound. And you can hear those lifters, too.
And the loping of the cam.
Now, the body came out of, what'd you say, Arizona or something?
Arizona.
And it was originally a Ram 3 car?
Ram 3 car, yeah.
And how did you find it?
A friend of mine was working construction in Bloomington, and he knew that I was always looking for a Carousel Red 69. I'd been looking for one of those for years, the right car. And he was telling me about this one sitting in a dealership at Bloomington. So my wife and
It was
I...
sitting in a dealership?
A Ford dealership.
A Ford dealership, of all things. About what year?
I'm going to say the early 90s,
Yeah.
91, 92-ish. We went out and looked at it, and of course I fell in love with it.
Hard not to.
And we brought it home. Then when everything broke loose, everybody, I had people start calling me, asking me if I realized what I just bought.
And did you at that point?
No, I didn't. I didn't know what a Ram Air 5 was.
All right. Well, you're right, Ray. The heater does work.
Felt great, didn't it?
I'm glad it does. Well, I tell you, it's a hot car on a cold day.
Thank you, Dennis.
Oh, it's beautiful. Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much for taking it out. It's
problem.
really a rare beast. Quite
No
a piece
problem.
of history.
Well, thank you, Dennis.
Think the heater will work on the way home, too?
I hope so.
Gosh, so do I.
I hope so.
today with John Chamberlain. John, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
John's the owner of this 70 GS Stage I, perhaps the ultimate sleeper, perhaps the baddest muscle car ever built. John, this is quite a piece. These Buicks were really understated cars.
You took the words right out of my mouth, Dennis. I was going to say understated myself because that is so true on these cars. This car is a typical Stage I car that came with, you know, perhaps a column shift, you know, understated paint, vinyl top, and this car has all of those. It's a bench seat car.
Triple brown.
Triple brown, sure. This car is unrestored. It has the original paint still on it, the original vinyl. The interior is still original. It had that luxurious vinyl that was
luxurious
famous
vinyl.
back then.
And it does have that sort of anti look to it.
It has an anti look or a grandmother look, depending on how you would want to look at it, sure. Interestingly enough, this car did come with a few essentials that every Stage I car should have, in that it has the factory gauges and tachometer, and the sports steering wheel is a nice addition and things like that. Power steering and brakes. No air conditioning or anything like that. So,
but that's a good point. This is an original car. This is a survivor.
It is, absolutely is.
It's all original, including the engine.
Yes.
And let's have a look at that engine.
Okay, sure.
The Stage I monster,
There it
GS
is.
455. Now this was only rated at 360 horsepower when it
Yes,
first came out.
That is correct.
That's baloney.
It is. NHRA refactored these cars to 400 horsepower after they were introduced, after they saw what kind of numbers they were turning.
But the real story on this engine is also its torque, though. It's
Very high
It's
torque.
a torque story. It's 510
Yes,
or
510 at 2,800 RPMs.
And these scoops were active.
They were. This car had vacuum that came to these scoops that kept them closed until acceleration, and as soon as you floored it, of course, your vacuum would go away and the scoops would open up and send cool air in from the scoop area here into the engine.
Your foam pieces even look original.
They are. They're almost 30 years old too.
So this was a hydraulic cam and only 10-to-1 compression ratio.
Yes, 10-to-1, actually about 9.8-to-1. Single hydraulic cam, quadrijet carburetor, cast iron intakes, cast iron exhaust manifolds. Really nothing magical about it at all.
Except that they would flat out fly.
Except they would really go. Absolutely would.
Well, we're here on a strip at the Mid-Michigan Motorplex, and what do you say we zip down it a couple times?
I think that's a great idea. Let's go do that.
Okay. John, this thing sounds serious. Remember, don't kill the host, okay? All right, right. You know, it's too bad we don't have feel-o-vision, because the inertia is incredible when this thing kicks.
Sure is.
It's like you're just sitting here and then all of a sudden it's like this. Woo!
Too cool, huh?
Yeah, too cool. That'll put you back in the seat. Actually put you back in the back seat.
Rocketing down the quarter mile in John's GS was a blast, and crossing the finish line in the mid-12s with speeds exceeding 107 miles an hour really got my heart racing. These eye-popping results are a combination of the raw power of the Stage I and John's years of experience in tuning his car while keeping its stock appearing.
I drove it an hour and a half to get here, and if we don't tear it up around those 12-second passes, I hope to drive it back home.
Well, I respect that too. Drive it to the track, race it, and drive it home.
Well, those days are kind of going by the wayside in light of, if anything else, the year of the car. It's 27 years old now.
Yeah.
You know, things can start going wrong, especially when you turn in the kind of numbers that this one will.
Today we're in Loveland, Colorado with Dan Carr. Dan, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dennis.
And his extremely unique car, truck, whatever, a 1971 GMC Sprint. And Dan, I gotta be honest, I didn't even know these existed till I was looking for a big block El Camino to do a story on.
And I didn't either until I went looking for one, and I ended up with this.
Well, it sure looks like an El Camino. What
Thank you.
all's gonna make it different?
The VIN number starting with a 5 instead of a 1. is the first giveaway. And of course the emblems. GMC did not want any Chevrolet emblems on their vehicle, so this has a different set than an El Camino would have.
So you got this one back here, the GMC Sprint.
Yes, on the tailgate, on the fenders, and on the front grille. Also the wheel center caps, the optional wheel center caps have GMC, and the steering wheel and dash as well.
Well, this is just beautiful. I mean, the bed alone is just fabulous. What kind of vehicle did you start with? Was it
was a great vehicle. It had a little bit of paint oxidation, but one small dent here on the wheel well, but that was the worst thing that ever happened to it.
Wow. Did you bring it back in a factory color?
Yes, this is Nevada Silver. It's a 1971 only GM color, silver with some blue in it.
Yeah, and I've always loved the El Camino back window. You could look in there so nicely. But I got to tell you, that's a very unique choice on the interior color.
Yes, they call it sandalwood. It's a two-tone medium and light tan. And I talked to the original owner of the vehicle, and he ordered it this way because he wanted the lightest color interior that was available.
Well, you know, it works though. It looks great.
Yeah, I really do like it. I've never seen a Chevelle with this color combination, although it was available on that as well.
Now, how about the interior options here? What all do you have?
First of all, it has the tack and gauge package, the bucket seats, which are somewhat unusual, the console. Also, the optional sport steering wheel with the Sprint horn button, and the GMC emblem on the dash is part of the Sprint.
Now, have you had to restore the interior?
All we did is replace the carpeting and re-dye some of the vinyl original color, but it's mostly original.
Original upholstery?
Yes.
It's unbelievable. How many miles?
About 52,000 actual miles.
Wow. Now, these were, like I said, they're very rare. How many did they make?
About 5,500 in 71. It was the first year for the GMC Sprint. Of those, 249 came with the SP package, which was similar to the El Camino SS. And of those 249, most of them were 350s, a few 400s. About 25 were the 454.
So this is one of 25?
Yes.
That is amazing. Cowl induction, of course you got a 454. Was that standard with the 454?
That was an extra cost option on top of the SP 454.
Man, this guy got everything on this thing.
Yes, he did. He ordered all the good stuff. I thanked him for doing that.
Yes, thank you very much. Well, you know, the front too is GMC. It sports the GMC badging there.
Yeah, the GMC grille emblem and the engine size emblem were specific to the GMC Sprint and not the El Camino. The SP emblem was a little add-on I did myself.
I bet some of those are pretty tough to replace.
Yes, the GMC grille emblem is really hard to find. It was only used in 71 and 2, and I know a lot of people that need one right now.
But they can't have this one.
No.
Well, let's pull the pins and unleash the beast here. I want to see that 454.
Okay, let's take a look.
Oh, an Invader 454.
Yeah, that was GMC's name for the V8s, the 350, 400, and 454.
So am I looking at a bone stock Invader there?
Yeah, this engine is the original engine to this vehicle. We reused all of the original components, block, heads, everything, except we did change pistons, and cam, and a few internal components.
Well, beautiful restoration. Do you drive it at all?
I've driven it about 3,000 miles in the 5 years that I've had it.
Beautiful day. What do you say we roll on just a few more?
Let's do it.
All right. I'll get this side. Let's roll.
A beautiful day in the Colorado countryside made for a great Saturday morning ride. Dan has done a fantastic job on restoring this big block Sprint. Our little joyride gave me a feel for what monsters these babies are.
I like the Sprint, you know, gives it a kind of a sporty look on the steering wheel.
Yeah, I really like this wheel. It's the first year they used this wheel.
Now, was it, I mean, is that the spoke pattern and everything special to this car, or?
This wheel actually was used starting in 1971 and then used throughout the 70s on a lot of different GM cars. You can even find this wheel on a Chevette, believe it or not.
No kidding.
But the Sprint horn button is very rare. That's a hard piece to find.
Yeah. You know, it rides so nice too. It's very smooth, and it's fairly soft, certainly compared to the GS.
Yeah. This is more what it would have been like stock, although it does have polygraphite bushings and the heavy anti-sway bars and all of that.
Well, does it hook up pretty well? Like when you take off?
Yeah, that actually don't give it quite so much throttle. It'll bite a little better. A lot of it's tires, of course.
Sure.
These are just you know, road radials. They're not any kind of drag.
No performance or anything.
Drag radials or anything.
But it does. The color too looks great in this light. The black stripes go with marbles.
Yeah.
Now, could you have even gotten this with air conditioning or not?
Yeah, you could have ordered it with air conditioning. The original owner chose not to do it because he lived in the San Luis Valley and it's pretty cold there.
That's surprising, though. I mean, he almost loaded it up with everything else.
Yeah, he did. He picked all the goodies, all the performance goodies, all the wild cool stuff, and didn't go for the extra
The frills,
comforts.
the creature comforts.
Although I think these bucket seats are pretty comfortable.
Yeah, they are. Now, would this have said Chevelle or something?
Correct. On a Chevelle, that would say Chevrolet.
Okay.
Same with El Camino.
Right, this thing is just in fabulous shape.
Yeah, it was just amazing.
Nothing like a 454.
That's right.
Got to kind of hop up here into the driveway. Got to tell you, Dan, pretty stout ride.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure and honor having you here today.
Oh, it's beautiful. And that was my first ever ride in a GMC Sprint. I hope it's not my last.
Well, maybe you'll see another one out there, but there aren't too many.
Well, and I may have seen the nicest one. Great
think so.
work, and thanks again.
Thank you.
Well, I'm in Claremont, Florida with Michelle Johnson and this gorgeous 68 Oldsmobile 442, which is actually your husband Lee's, right?
That's correct.
But today you're
Designated
the designated
driver.
driver, indeed. Now this is a landmark year for the 442. It's really the first year for the 442.
This is the first year the 442 is its own model. It had always been nothing more than an option on a Cutlass.
And that started back in what, 64, I believe?
64,
But
that's
in
correct.
68, it's a car.
This is a 442.
Now this car has also been brought back to factory specs. I mean, it is beautiful, but you've had to get it there. It's got some miles on it.
174,000 plus.
174,000.
That's correct.
Well, beautiful job, and to factory specs.
Ground up, factory specs.
Now, in 68, they did an awful lot to this car. They, of course, the whole body style is different, but they shortened it.
4 to 5 inches shortened. Hood louvers were added
First
and
year
the
for
hood
the hood
bulge.
louvers.
Give it a little more aggressive look.
Yes. Well, one of the things I always liked about these is I love the rear end. I love the exhausts on this car.
These are called trumpets.
Yes, indeed.
Yes.
I can't imagine why.
Well, and the bumper is exclusive to the 442. It has special cutouts to accommodate those wide flare exhaust.
Well, the chrome is beautiful on the trumpets and the bumper. I imagine they're
Rechromed.
rechromed, but
That's
it's all
correct.
original, eh?
Yes, it is.
Well, let's look in the trunk.
Oh, the trunk's brand new. I don't think too many people use trunks on muscle cars. It has the original cardboard houndstooth spare tire cover.
Boy, I bet that'd be hard to find
Just
if you
about
needed to.
impossible.
Now, these things were pretty notorious for rust in specific areas.
Yes,
One was
they were.
along here.
Right. And this sloping window created a retention pond
Oh, lovely,
area
yes.
down around here, and that was all cut out and replaced too at the end of the vinyl.
Great job on it. Now, this car is particularly interesting because it's actually a sport coupe, right?
Yes, it is.
Which, with the windows up, looks like a hardtop, but with them down and you open up the door, it's actually a post sedan.
That's correct. There's your post.
Now, this was probably the rarest of these, wasn't it?
It was. There were only about 4,500 of this particular model made.
And the hardtop was the most common with about 24,000.
Right. Followed by the convertible, and then the sport coupe.
The sport coupe.
Right.
Now, your interior, beautiful, original upholstery and everything?
Oh, the rear seat's original. I don't think rear seats in muscle cars saw too much use. Front's been
Okay.
recovered. The dashboard is all original. Side panels, so it's in beautiful shape for the
Now, how
miles
about
it
the
is.
Kenwood stereo?
Well, the Kenwood, not too many people kept their 8 tracks.
Yeah, it's hard to get
hard
tapes,
to get
hard to
8
get those
track,
tapes, yeah.
So the Kenwood adds a little attitude.
Yeah. But that's where the 8-track would have gone.
Yes, that's exactly where the factory would have put it.
Well, you have the original window sticker on this car. I was reading it.
I
It's
do.
like a $3,000 car base, but it's got $1,700 worth of options on it. This is really loaded.
It is. This is a luxury muscle car. It has factory air conditioning. It had the AM/FM stereo, power windows, bucket seats, sport wheel are some of the large options on it.
Beautiful. Well, now it also had kind of an interesting drivetrain package. This is an L65, right?
Right. This is a cruising package option.
The cruising package. What constituted the cruising package?
290 horsepower, 400 CID engine. It's only a 2-barrel.
A 2-barrel.
2-barrel. That's correct. It was designed to run on regular gasoline with a 9-to-1 compression engine.
For the economy-minded muscle car enthusiast.
It was advertised for the economy-minded.
Interesting combination. Well, let's have a look under the hood.
Okay.
Now that 2-barrel didn't really rob it of too much.
Oh no, that's the fooler on this car. It still has 425 foot-pounds of torque at 2,400 RPM with a 256 rear-end ratio.
So now with the 4-barrel 350 horsepower option, it actually didn't have as much low-end torque as this.
It had 440 at 3,200. So this is a mover.
So quick out of the hole.
And economy-minded.
And economy-minded, yes. Well, and along those lines, it had a 256 rear end in this package.
Right. So it was a good highway cruiser.
High speed, 130 mile an hour.
It's been known to go that fast.
So let's see, with all that low-end torque, it's relatively quick out of the hole.
Yes, it is.
Pretty good top end.
Wonderful top end.
What do you say?
I think it needs to run.
Let's run. After all, it's a cruiser.
It is a cruiser, and I'll show you just how.
And I imagine it turns a lot of heads.
We cannot take this car anywhere without someone commenting on the car. In fact, Lee relayed...
It's a great feeling, isn't it?
It is. It is. Lee relayed a funny experience. He came home one day and said he had pulled up in a parking lot, and a man leaned out the car window and yelled, "Sold." Both of the previous owners were just above meticulous about maintaining documentation. We have insurance cards, we have receipts for gaskets. Basically, I could trace the history of this car from the day it was on the showroom floor until we bought it.
Well, yeah,
everything that was done to it.
Above meticulous, bordering on obsessive, actually.
Yeah, but that's the way to be. But it's nice to have.
It's great to have.
It's wonderful to go back and look and know that this car was well loved by everyone that had it.
Michelle, what will this do from a dead stop?
You want to find out?
Oh, I do. At least a little bit. Oh, it is good low end torque. And for an economy muscle car, I like it very much.
This is an economy car.
You know, they just don't make economy cars like this anymore.
No, they sure don't.
Rick, 71 boat tail rib. I love these. These are some of the wildest cars GM ever made.
It really was one of the most daring designs that GM ever put the green light to.
Now, it's very close to the concept car that preceded this a little bit. I think it was the Silver Earl, but
right.
It looked a heck of a lot like this car.
Right. This car really is. It looks like a rolling concept car going down the road, and it's very impractical from a functionality standpoint. It's got huge dimensions, but very little cockpit space.
Four passenger, right?
Right.
4-passenger with two very small passengers in the back.
Exactly.
Yeah, but you know, gorgeous car, and typical of the cars in your collection, it's a low mileage, unrestored original.
Right, it's got 27,000 original miles, very well cared for miles, because that really makes a difference, and all original paint. It's pretty much the way it was built.
Just beautiful car, and you know, and the interior is very, I don't know, it's very sporty for something this big, and it's very intimate.
Right, it's a good mix of luxury and sport. They worked in the engine turned dash effect there.
That looks cool, and very, you know, very cockpit oriented.
Right, the center console. The tachometer there was a aftermarket tach that the original owner installed to sport things up a little bit. And I've got the console pieces to put that back to original, but I haven't gotten around to it.
Yeah, only due time.
It looks kind of neat there.
You got a few cars to work on anyway, you know.
Yeah.
Now, original interior too, unrestored here?
All original interior, the carpets, the seat upholstery, everything's unrestored.
Man, I gotta believe that's a good thing, because nobody's repopping parts for these. There just weren't enough of them.
There weren't enough of them, and there's even fewer left today, because through the late 70s and 80s, they were just an underappreciated used car. So
people just let them go,
many even just got driven into the ground. Yeah. So there are really no reproduction parts for this car. So if you don't have a good car to begin with,
you got a problem.
You're paddling upstream. Yeah.
Well, they only did this body style for 3 years, 71, 2, and 3, and I think 71 was the only one that had these wild louvers in the trunk.
And what they do, I couldn't tell you. I think they were just for styling
just decoration,
purposes.
Huh?
Right.
But I think they went away after that. Also, I see that
it's hot enough today that we could probably cook hot dogs on there. So.
But you had a center butted seam there on the back
That was
window.
a one-year only thing also. It's a two-piece glass that's bonded in the center, and from what I've been told, they from rear-end collision testing or practical experience, they were finding that the two pieces of glass were losing their bond and then jettisoning right into the
that can't be a good
compartment.
thing. It just no, definitely not.
You'd either want to be short or you,
or you would be short.
Right.
All right, you know, big, massive Buick. I gotta believe it's got a big, massive Buick engine.
Yeah,
under
it's
the hood.
got the Top Gun, the 455 4-barrel in it.
Let's pop it open and have a look.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's one long hood too.
Yeah. Takes a couple of front car springs to hold this
Heavy
one up.
duty. Huh? Yeah. Wow, that's beautiful. Now this is a 455 cubic inch. Buick had finally converted to telling the truth about how big the engine was.
Right, exactly. It's a 455 cubic inch instead of in the past.
Foot-pounds of torque is what they used to.
Right.
Like 445 was that was foot-pounds torque, but this is 455 cubic inch. Now it looks like the engine's had a little freshening done to it.
Yeah, it's all original under the hood, but we did repaint the valve covers in the block. It was one of those snowball effect types of deals where we needed to fix a water leak by the timing cover, and once we had everything disassembled on the front end of the motor, it just made good sense to freshen that up. So that we touched, but the firewall and all the aprons and just all the accessories that you see in and around the engine compartment, that's all original.
Well, you know, I mean, it looks great inside and out. How does it run? Does it drive?
It drives as great as it looks, like a brand new one.
Let's button it up.
Alrighty.
I mean, you pretty much know the drill. This is the time of the show. I say, hey, let's take this out for a drive, but let's cut to the chase. What do you say I drive it this time?
No problem.
Man,
welcome.
Let's go.
Rick's 1971 Boattail Riv is really a unique car, and I just couldn't wait any longer. Life is good.
This is an amazing cruiser. This thing is so smooth.
Yeah, it drives very smooth, and because the car's never been apart, it's got low miles. It really does drive like a new one should.
You know what's different though, and every time I get into a car of this era, first thing I recognize is how little the steering wheel is. It feels great. When I was a kid, I remember seeing these things go down the road, and there was nothing like them on the road. They just looked awesome.
Yeah, when I was young, these cars always caught my attention right away. If you saw one going down the road, that was the car you were looking at because it was just so unique compared to anything else you saw.
And they had that, you know, with the way the thing's laid out, it's just this, you know, everything was so futuristic back then. So you get that kind of Starship cruiser feel out of it.
It was one of the more exotic cars on the road.
But like you said, I mean, it is not very practical. It's a 4-passenger car.
Yeah, and the trunk isn't very large, and look at how much hood you have out there in front of you.
You could land a small aircraft on that hood. It's just amazing. But this is a car that, you know, it almost looks like a lowrider without dropping it.
Yeah, it does. Very popular along hot rodders and custom car builders because
well, it does customize well.
They're radical stock and they're just unworldly when you really start playing with them and putting on the brighter metallic colors.
Yeah, a set of 20s on this.
Yeah.
Great. You know, not that it really mattered back then, but you know, with the 455 and this thing it has to weigh 2.5 tons.
Easily.
What kind of mileage would this have gotten?
Oh, I would guesstimate somewhere between 8 and 10 in the city and 14 to 16 on the highway.
If you're behaving yourself.
Be typical if you're behaving yourself.
But again, at what, 30 cents a gallon back then?
Back then
it
wasn't nearly the issue that it is today.
Oh man, what a cool ride. You know, I love coming down here, Rick. Not only do you have great cars, but you let me drive them. Oh, man.
It's good for them to get driven, so whenever you feel like coming down, just tell us what you'd like to drive. I'll get it ready for you.
Well, you know, we could be doing this for a long time.
There's a lot of cars to go through.
Let's talk about it on the way back to the shop.
All right,
All right.
Let's go.
It's a beautiful autumn day here in Bethel Park, Pennsylvania, and I'm with Eric Vicker. Hello. Eric, welcome to the show. And his gorgeous, original, unrestored 72 Trans Am. Now, Eric, this is a pretty rare car in a lot of respects, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's one of 458 made with a stick shift, which is an M22. 1,258 made total due to a strike the Pontiac had that year.
Now, that was the lowest production year for Trans Ams?
From 1970 to the present day.
70 on. And with the exception of the paint, and the paints of that era weren't that good.
And no, this was a lacquer paint, and it did craze over the years.
So it's been repainted, but But the rest of it's all, like dead stock original.
It's bone stock original, from the tires to the headlights to the trunk area.
Well, let's look at the trunk area.
And I don't have the keys.
So original mat.
Original trunk mat, original spare tire.
Never been down.
No, original jack. The original jacking instructions. Still has the original tune-up sticker right there.
The 6,600 miles.
6,600 miles.
Time for plugs, huh? That is amazing. Now, same goes for the interior, I'm assuming.
Same goes for the interior. This car has the original floor mats in it still. Still has the original carpet, original seat covers. Underneath the seat, I found the original build sheet. I found the carpet tag.
No console?
There's a console delete. It has the AM/FM stereo.
That's the original shift knob, too.
Original shift knob. A lot of people change and put the T-handles, but that's the original knob on it still.
And was the engine turning for all?
All Trans Ams from
had
70 up to 81 had that engine turn dash face.
They found something they like and they stuck with it.
Yes, they did.
Now this paint scheme though was only 70 to 72.
That's correct.
This
With the
particular
stripes,
striping?
70 to 72 shared this paint scheme. This color being Lucerne blue and the other color being white with a blue stripe.
And what was the percentage of the two colors?
The blue is a lot more rare. For every 10 cars that were made, 2 of them were blue, the other 8 were white.
Now some other unique features on the 72 was the honeycomb grille. That was 72 only, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, 72 only with the grills. They also had a matching wheel that went along with this in 71 and 72.
And I suspect you have those.
Yes, I do.
Being the Trans Am nut that you are, yes.
Yes, I do.
Original headlights?
Original headlights in the car. These are the Power Beam headlights. They still work.
Man. And this plate here was kind of a unique feature to 72 also, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. This was a 72 and 73. What it was is a plastic injected molded valence panel.
Now under the hood though, breathes a 455 HO. Unrestored also, right?
That's unrestored also.
Well, let's have a look at her. So that really is what it would look like after this many years.
Right. This engine's totally unrestored. The whole engine compartment's unrestored. Has the original emission stickers, the original hoses, brake booster. Everything's original.
Now the 455, this was really the last of the bad boys.
Yes, it was. It was the last year they had the aluminum intakes. A lot of the features were there, the round port heads, round port exhaust manifolds.
Now this wasn't the Super Duty though, that came out in 73.
Right, 73 and 74.
But the Super Duty doesn't have as many horsepower.
No, it didn't. It had 290 horsepower and this engine has 335.
Man. Well, you know, this is the part of the show where we always like take these for a drive. But you know, I've never driven one of these. You don't suppose I could?
Sure.
Ooh, yes. Thought you'd never ask. Well, let's go. Yeah, this definitely is the fun part of the show. Now, have you always been a car guy, Eric?
Actually, it started years ago when I was a young kid. My cousin Sean, who was into the Trans Ams, he had a Super Duty Trans Am. He really is the one that got me into the Trans Ams.
And you said this has the original shocks on it?
Still has the original spiral shock absorbers. Nothing in the suspension has been touched. I mean, you're driving on the original tires.
I'm back in time. It's a
Back in
flashback.
72.
Back in 72. As Trans Ams go, and short of the ultra rare 69, is this the one to have?
This would be the one to have, right. The 69, the Ram Air 4 cars are the most desirable and original, and then the 72.
It's the Harley Earl Show, coming to you in living color and historical black and white.
Harley Earl came from a coach building background out west, customizing or styling Cadillacs for a dealership out there. Was discovered by General Motors people and brought back to Detroit.
Harley used to design the cars that C.B. DeMille drove, and he'd watch C.B. DeMille directing a movie, and I think a little of that rubbed off on Harley because he was a little that way when he came back to the studios of GM.
What Harley did for the automobile industry, or Detroit, is that he turned it into automotive Hollywood. At that time, you really didn't have the mass public in this country appreciating automobiles for their appearance. Before that day, Harley Earl came to General Motors, Cars were primarily built as a means of transportation function.
When Harley Earl got started, there was no such thing as a styling department in the industry. Basically, the engineers that put the car together, sort of hit and miss, did the styling of the car. When he started GM Styling, he became the master of masters on picking the right sketch. You could have 15, 20 sketches on the wall, but Harley would pick the one that was right. It was really the best design. And that became his secret of success. What he had to do is he had to force the engineering envelope. They would come up with every reason in the world why the tread couldn't be widened, why you couldn't get them on, the grease racks. The ones that they used for running trains later wouldn't match the track. Can you imagine such a reason? But they used reasons like that. Harley Earl himself was associated with many, many things. His beautiful fastback cars. At the time when a car was a box, to have a roofline that would go in one long slope all the way to the rear of the car was really dramatic. Glass, the unusual use of glass. General Motors did the first wraparound windshields and wrap over backlights.
They fought him tooth and nail the whole time. Individuals, engineers at General Motors, they were like, you can't do this. Plus, nobody's going to want to have a curved glass or a bent windshield on a car.
Of course, Earl is credited with the fin craze. 1948 Cadillac got these little bulges over their taillights, which were reminiscent of the twin boom tail on a P-38 Lightning fighter. So from there, what began as two little bulges on a Cadillac, by 1959 ended up as tall as a lighthouse on a DeSoto.
If you were going to gauge the importance of different people in the automobile styling, all of them would have to pale compared to Harley Earl.
That's all, folks.
The most glamorous and exciting cars companies produce are their concept cars. They're designed and built from the ground up to test engineering concepts and to dazzle the public with their futuristic styling. Over the years, GM created some of the wildest concept cars ever. The idea for this concept, 1954's Firebird 1, came from the legendary Harley Earl, then VP of Styling at GM. The idea was to test the feasibility of equipping automobiles with gas turbine engines. Of course, Harley added futuristic styling borrowed from jet aircraft of the time. The radical fender design of the 1954 Buick Wildcat II makes it one of the most attractive of the General Motors concept vehicles. The Wildcat II, like the 1953 Wildcat I and the Chevrolet Corvette, reflect GM's interest at the time in developing small, powerful cars with lightweight fiberglass bodies. Though Buick stayed out of the two-seat roadster business until the development of the Riata, elements from this car made it into production years later. Buick enthusiasts will recognize the sweep spear chrome on the 1956 Centurion concept as being similar to the 1957 production Buicks. They might even recognize the rear fins as being like those on the 1959 models. The rest of the car, however, is one of a kind. The 1956 Firebird 2 concept was unveiled by Harley Earl amid much fanfare. It represented a progress report on the feasibility of gas turbine-powered vehicles. Unlike the original single-seat Firebird 1 that developed 1,250-degree exhaust temps, the four-seat Firebird 2 featured a regenerative gas turbine engine that operated nearly 1,000 degrees cooler. Other features included the first use of four-wheel disc brakes, fully independent four-wheel suspension, and a sophisticated electronic guidance system for use on the electronic highway of the future. The 1959 Cadillac Cyclone concept was designed to test new styling and a host of high-tech engineering ideas. The two-passenger automobile has a clear plastic top that fits snugly against a panoramic windshield to give the driver true 360-degree vision. When it's not in use, the power-operated canopy folds backwards beneath the surface of the trunk deck. Among its advanced engineering features is a radar locating device that scans the highway and warns the driver of objects in its path. The Aerovet concept is an experimental mid-engine coupe. It was developed in 1973 to test high-performance design and engineering concepts that were not planned for production. It featured a steel and aluminum body of birdcage construction with fiberglass skin. The bifold gull-wing doors with fixed side windows help reduce the body weight. A 400 cubic inch V8 is mounted transversely near the middle of the chassis. More recently, GM created the Corvette Serve 3. This high-tech vehicle featured a prototype carbon fiber body and chassis. Power is supplied by a transversely mounted twin-turbocharged LT5 V8. This rocket ship is all-wheel drive with four-wheel steering. In 2002, GM unveiled the Autonomy concept. Looking more like a Mars exploration vehicle, it was designed to test advanced engineering technologies related to chassis design and packaging. It also featured a fuel cell powertrain. In 1951, the LeSabre was one of the first show vehicles produced by GM Styling following World War II. Reflecting Harley Earl's fascination with jet fighters, the LeSabre adopted many of the design and engineering features found in high-performance aircraft. Lightweight materials like cast magnesium and aluminum were used in many key areas like the deck lid and the hood. The wraparound windshield was an industry first. The convertible top and side windows are electrically operated and raise automatically when moisture hits a sensitized spot located between the seats. Mike Doty showed me this incredible concept car.
Well, now this is probably one of the most beautiful design cars in the fleet, I think.
This is the 1951 LeSabre. Not a LeSabre, but the LeSabre.
The LeSabre.
This was the first car ever done with the name LeSabre on it.
It was really Harley Earl's baby, wasn't it?
Yes, it really was. After this vehicle came off the show circuit, Harley Earl actually drove this car personally around the Detroit area, back and forth to work on a daily basis. This car actually has 51,000 miles on it. By far the most of any of our historical fleet as far as a concept car
that's
goes.
unheard of for a concept car.
51,000 miles is a lot.
Again, very flight influenced.
Yeah, this vehicle was designed after actually a French fighter plane that Harley had seen and was influenced to design this car after that type of look.
It's an aluminum body, right?
Yes, with some cast magnesium in this vehicle. Yeah.
And the engine?
It's an all aluminum V8. It's got hemispherical heads, supercharged, 2 carburetors.
In 51.
1951.
Now, it's a really interesting grill up there, and that does a trick. It doubles as the
actually that is also the headlight system, which I'll show you how this works. It actually rotates 180 degrees, and the 2 lights will come back on.
That's incredible.
It really is. It's an early hideaway headlight system.
Well, there's a lot of other design cues here that showed up in other cars. I mean, that's Corvette.
53 Corvette cockpit right there, another one of Harley Earl's famous designs, the 53 Corvette, along with the wraparound windshield that you see on this vehicle. It's got the front bumpers on it, actually ended up in similar to that, to the early 53 Cadillac,
right,
and along with the rear tail fins.
Now, as I understand it, there's fuel cells in this car.
Yes, there is. There's fuel cells on each side of this car. This side has actually got gasoline in it. That side holds alcohol. And what the alcohol would do is at a certain RPM with this vehicle, if you were stepping into the throttle, would induce into the supercharger and give this vehicle an extra boost of power. Yeah, it would take off.
Kicking in the afterburners.
Absolutely.
And that's sort of what the tail looks like.
Yeah, it resembles an afterburner when you apply the brake. It's one big light in the center, and when you step on the brake, it all lights up in red. It kind of looks like an afterburner, yeah.
It's just stunningly beautiful and all original, even with 51,000 miles,
That's right. 51,000 miles on this car, and what you're looking at is a unrestored 1951 Motorama car by General Motors. All original paint on this car. This car has never been restored. It's got a few gotchas here and there, but generally this car is in its original form.
Don't ever touch it.
Well, we try to do preservation and not restoration.
It's beautiful.
Yes.
The Firebird 3 was the third and final gas turbine-powered car developed by GM in the 1950s to test the feasibility of turbine engines in everyday use. The Firebird 3 concept was unveiled to the world in New York on October 16, 1959. Everything about this amazing car was space age, from its combination jet fighter rocket ship styling to its joystick driver control and onboard computer technology. In short, the Firebird 3 was the most advanced car on the planet in 1959. And some of the same technology would be used to put a man on the moon 10 years later.
Well, Mike, now we're in the realm of true design vehicles, and this has got to be one of the wildest GM ever did. The Firebird 3.
1959 Firebird 3. Yeah, it was
It was real wild on the styling end, big on the fins in the back. Definitely airplane influenced here on this vehicle.
It was a third in a series though, right?
It was a third in a series. GM was toying with the idea of building turbine engines back in the 50s. They had a series of these cars, Firebird 1, 2, and 3, and each one of them served their own specific purpose for their test beds. This was the final of the series in 1959, and this was the one that, that GM threw all their greatest technologies into at the time.
Well, it's such a wild Flash Gordon, Buck Rogers design. It's Harley Earl, right?
Yeah, this is Harley Earl's, one of his finals that he did before he retired and left GM styling. You can see a lot of his influence. Harley was very heavily influenced by the airplanes of the time. All of his concept cars, if you were to go back and look, you can see the influences that Harley had. Definitely the fins give it all away as being Harley also. He was big into that.
But this really was a test platform for possibly looking at turbine engines for passenger cars, right?
Yes. Well, turbines were beginning to be the engine of the future at the time. A lot of military applications were being used, and definitely in the aircraft industry. So the automobile industry was taking a look at possibly doing these same type of engines. So they had to build something to test these vehicles and see how feasible it was. They did learn that these vehicles, they ran really hot. The car runs about 1,500 degrees.
That's hot.
Yeah, that's pretty hot. And it stays hot all day, too. And it also, the fuel consumption's really big on this car. It drinks a lot of fuel.
Well, there's actually two engines in this, though, right?
Yeah, there's a gasoline engine in the front of this vehicle. It's a two-cylinder gasoline engine, and what it does is power all your accessories in this vehicle, your alternator, your power steering pump, and your air conditioning. This vehicle is actually an air-conditioned vehicle. The regenerative gas turbine is in the rear of this vehicle, and it does nothing more than power the rear wheels, and that's what gives this car rolling.
Well, I love the fighter jet canopies. Can you open up the cockpit?
Sure.
Wow.
Yeah, it actually has a gull-wing type of configuration here, the way it opens, but it allows for maximum accessibility to get into the vehicle.
There's no steering wheel?
No steering wheel, no gas pedal, no brake pedal in this car. Everything is run by the joystick in the center console. As you move the joystick left and right, it will turn the wheels. If you push the joystick forward, it'll apply power to the rear wheels. If you pull back on it, it applies the brakes. It's really a different type of thing to get used to. You have to take everything you know as driving a vehicle today and throw it right out the window because you don't have a brake pedal to step on or anything else.
I bet that's thrilling. And you can actually drive it from either side, right?
You can drive this vehicle from the left side or the right side. Yeah. Probably the kids today would be a lot better with this with the video games. The adults might have a little harder time with it. The kids today would probably have no problem driving this vehicle.
I believe it. I believe it. It's wild.
Great car.
The Buick LaCrosse is an excellent example of the type of concept cars GM is building to get feedback on designs and to test technology they'll be using 5 or 10 years down the road. This 5-passenger sedan combines roominess and comfort with an elegant exterior design that immediately says Buick, with its sweep spear side profile, vertical bar grille, portholes, and cross-car rear lighting.
So, Mike, this would be an example of the latest, greatest from GM design and decidedly Buick.
Yes, the Buick LaCrosse is definitely a graceful and stylish luxury sedan. It was actually unveiled in 2000 at the Detroit Auto Show. You see the Buick styling in this futuristic concept vehicle with the portholes here on the fenders, all the way up to the grille that shows some early Buick design. It's got 21-inch wheels on it. Also, it's stylish. It says Buick all the way inside with the wood grain on the dash to the beautiful leather seats inside this vehicle.
Well, it's so sleek and just, I mean, it just like would slide through the air, and it's got all these trick features like the glass roof and it's got also does all sorts of electronic tricks. It's voice activated.
Yeah,
right?
This is a voice activated car. It's something new we're playing with.
Show me something.
Sure. What we do is you give the command to the vehicle. We'll say LaCrosse, driver's door open.
Oh yeah, pulls back and
it will open.
Oh
man, just that easy.
Very slick, and it's a suicide door car. So actually, the back would open, and you'd have the great entrance and other things like the hood. Does the hood work?
The hood also the same way. LaCrosse, open hood.
Well, that's cool.
Now, just like the early Buicks, what you'll notice with this hood, as it comes straight up, it will tilt to the side.
Oh yeah, it's the piano hood, the grand piano hood.
That's correct. Underneath the hood of this vehicle, we have the all-new 4.2-liter V8. It's dual overhead cam, multi-valve, 265 horsepower.
Absolutely beautiful. Man, I would love to see one of these on the road someday.
Yeah.
You know, I'd love to close this up. Can I do this?
Sure.
How do you do it?
Just give it a command. What you would say to this vehicle right now is, lacrosse, go to sleep.
Lacrosse, go to sleep. Ooh.
And that closes everything.
That is so cool. Well, I tell you, you know, John actually let me drive a couple of his cars. You know, we've talked about 3 very cool design vehicles. I love this one, but the Firebird is just too awesome. The Firebird 3, and I understand you're one of the few people on earth that can drive it. Is that true?
That's true.
So can we fire up the Firebird?
I think that's a great choice. Yeah.
Let's do it.
Let's go for a ride.
All right. You're not going to kill me, right?
No, we're going to go slow.
Good. Oh, ooh. Oh, nice fit.
Yeah. We're going to dump the fuel into the igniters. We're going to watch our temperatures. They're going to climb up to around 1,200 degrees. She's lit.
It's kind of ironic, don't you think? Taking a present-day drive in 1959's car of the future? Some of the Firebird 3's engineering and design we take for granted today, but turbine power never really proved feasible.
This is a great car to go for a cruise with somebody you really don't want to talk to because you really can't hear each other. It's a time for reflection, you know? Good visibility. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Watching someone drive a car without a steering wheel or foot pedals is very strange. The unit control steering stick was designed so that either the driver or the passenger could drive, or not drive. You see, GM was working on a driving system that would take over the controls and auto-guide the car along a low-frequency powered cable that was implanted in the road.
I don't know, this cockpit design reminds me of the Dome of Silence in Get Smart, you know?
Yeah.
What? I can't hear you. What?
Yeah, I know it. And I have to tell you, the sensation of riding in this is more like a space vehicle than a car.
It's kind of like you're just taxiing everywhere.
Yeah.
If Mike only knew I was going to whack him over the head and steal this thing.
And there were even more Firebird innovations, including remote keyless entry, automatic starting to ensure a properly heated car when you got in, two-way radio communications with a central control station or control towers lining the sides of tomorrow's highways, and a lighting system that could detect when it gets dark and automatically turn the headlights on.
It is the ride of a lifetime, though, I gotta tell you.
GM's collection of historic vehicles isn't the world's largest, but it's full of rare and original pieces. For example, this 1905 Buick Model C is the fourth oldest Buick on the planet. Only 14 of these automobiles are known to exist of the 750 cars that were produced. And GM is still actively collecting their own history. This beautiful 1939 Buick Roadmaster Model 81C Phaeton was purchased in 1999. Only 311 were built, and they sold for $1,983. Power is provided by 120 horsepower straight 8. This is also the first car that came with turn signals as standard equipment. The first car John picked is very representative of the unique, original vehicles that GM has in their collection. This 1932 Oldsmobile 5-window sport coupe was a stunning automobile in its day, with white wall tires, accenting wood wheels, and contrasting body colors. The sport coupe was a 3-passenger car and featured chrome front and rear bumpers, tall vertical grille and surround shell, headlamps, fender-mounted marking lamps, and a spotlight. This extremely rare model originally sold for $970.
John, this is absolutely beautiful.
Well, Dennis, this is my personal favorite of the collection. Let me tell you, this
You
is
have
a
good
very,
taste.
Oh, yeah, it's a very, very fabulous car. We were very pleased to have this in our collection. So it is such a rare car. In fact, as far as I know, it could be the only one in existence.
And it's a 5-window coupe, and that's really the rare piece of it, right?
Yeah, because normally you saw the 32 Olds in a sedan, a 4-door, and to have a 5-window coupe is a very rare piece.
Well, it's really ornate. This must have been a high-end model, even in its day.
This was if you had a few bucks, you know, this is the car you had, because if you look at the ornateness, this is the car you would take to the country club. More of the single man's car, the suitor's car, he would take it to the country club. In fact, there's a door back here for your golf clubs to take to the country club. So yes, this was the car.
It was kind of the sports car.
Sports car. You could almost equate this now to the modern Corvette. This was the sports car of that era.
So you had arrived if you had this
You
car.
have arrived, let me tell you.
So a lot of great chrome on this, which you didn't see that much in that era, and fabulous pinstriping and other detailing. I love the wheels.
The wheels, it was very interesting on that, because that is really the design right off the old artillery carriage, or the cannon carriages of the day. So that's a very, very unique piece.
And that ornate painting and all that would have gone with this?
Well, if you look at this is with the chroming and the pinstriping, the two-toning, a very, very elegant touch. It's a lot like the current hot rodders of today would do.
And a lot of other details. I mean, I love the crank. It's a crank down back window, isn't it?
Crank down back window, because if you had the passenger in the rumble seat, the crank down the window, he could talk to the people in the front.
And if you didn't, you had a nice little window shade.
You had a window shade to keep him out.
Well, this would have been the one to take to the course.
Oh, this is a very, very, very nice car. Yes.
The next vehicle shows the origin of the sport utility vehicle. The 1936 Chevrolet Suburban Carryall was designed to carry people in a truck-type vehicle, but in a comfortable manner. And with options like white wall tires, a radio and heater, the Carryall was very civilized while still being a hunter's dream. To this day, the Suburban line of Chevrolet trucks remains the ultimate Super Duty station wagon truck. And for about the amount of an average payment on a new Suburban, $685, you could have paid in full for this one.
Well, now, John, this is a pretty historically significant vehicle here. This is really one of the first SUVs, right?
Well, yes, it's not quite the first one, because 1935 is when the Chevy Suburban first started. This is 1936, and quite frankly, very fortunate to have one. As you've been watching television, this is appearing in a lot of the current Suburban commercials. You see the little horse farm, but this has been used quite extensively in a lot of commercials.
Well, it's in beautiful shape, and most of these, didn't survive. They were utility vehicles.
Well, yes, when they were used basically in agricultural areas, most of them we would see with the panel delivery van, which was most of them. We're very rare to find one with seats, which really emulates our current Suburban.
Yeah, and it's a Chevy. It was a utilitarian vehicle, but it's still really beautifully appointed.
Well, for Chevrolet, especially back in that era, you see it's a three-tone, black and the cream color with the kind of the taupe color. But you notice even the pinstriping. Pinstriping on the Chevrolet way back then. It's very, very unique.
So what powered this?
Well, we have this traditional straight six, but overhead valve straight six, not the old flathead, and 74 horsepower with a synchromesh 3-speed.
Amazing. And also, it was very popularly priced.
Yes, out the door, $685.
So today I could take it out the door for $685?
Not today.
Well, it's beautiful, and it really is a great historic piece for the collection.
Oh, it's a great. We're just very fortunate to have it.
The next car John brought out is one of my all-time favorites. The 1953 Buick Skylark Anniversary Convertible celebrated 50 years of Buick production. The Skylark was based on a custom factory-built Roadmaster body that was sectioned, chopped, and featured a special wraparound windshield. Buick's new Pentaroof chamber overhead valve V8 was unique to the industry. Stunning and fresh in its appearance even today, only 1,690 were built in 1953, with a list price of about $5,000 each.
Well, John, the 32 Olds may be your favorite, but this is one of mine.
Well, this is a really nice car, Dennis.
It sure is, and it's truly fabulous. Now, 53 was a big year.
Well, yes, Dennis, you mentioned fabulous. This was a part, or one of the cars, of the famous Fab Four. Fab Four, which was the made up comprised of the 53 Corvette, the 53 Eldorado convertible, and the 53 Olds Fiesta convertible.
And then the 53 Skylark. Now, this was a very limited production run, too, right?
Yes, we only made less than 1,700 of these vehicles, and what's very unique about this, we talk about our custom shops, our modern customizing shops today, but here is a factory customized shop. And when I say that, this car was chopped and it was sectioned from a production Roadmaster right out of the assembly line.
That's right. I mean, this really wasn't. They made this car from another car, and you look at the windshield, and it's very narrow. You can see it's chopped, and it's raked at a nice angle, too.
Raked, and not only that, but look at the curvature. This was one of the first usages of the curved or wraparound, as it was termed, windshield.
in the 53 Skylark.
Yes.
It was also first time for the engine.
Well, yes, this, you've heard the term nailhead. You know, this was derived from this overhead valve 322 cubic inch V8 motor. And as you notice, most engines today, you know, the valve covers are on an angle. Well, if you look at these valve covers, they're vertical, they're straight up and down. And that's exactly the way the valves were. They were vertical. So you look at underneath the valve cover, they're all in a line.
So it looks like nails down there. That's where that term comes from.
Yes.
Well, Kelsey Hayes wheels, another feature was it had the Dynaflow transmission. Well, these things were they were fabulous. They looked great in their day, and they still look good today. You could cruise down the street in this and just get looks like.
Well, this would definitely stop traffic, I'll tell you that.
Maybe we could go stop some traffic. Do you think we could actually take this baby out?
I think, Dennis, you've been really great. Let's go. Let's take this thing for a ride.
Let's Dynaflow.
Okay. Well, you said you've never driven one.
I haven't.
Here is your absolute chance to drive a 53 Buick Skylark.
Well, what are we waiting for?
Well, let's get it going.
All right. Let's see, it's the floor starter too, right? Here we go.
Here we are. Buick V8 power.
Look, Mom, no hands.
Right.
Dynaflow. Here we go. I'm amazed how smooth the power steering is on this.
Well, the power steering is very smooth, and you know, we were talking about the Dynaflow transmission. You know, this is really a smooth transmission.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, it's just very, very smooth.
Well, I expect with a wheel this size, I expect it to be, you know, muscling a little bit more.
Well, the big thing is, you know, the turning radius. You know, the ratio of the steering is quite large.
It doesn't wander really either. This, you know, for a 50s car, it tracks pretty nice.
Yes, it does, and you know, it's very stable. You know, and even for a car this size, of course, you know, Buicks were notorious for being very, very heavy.
Oh, and you can feel it.
You're right. It's a very heavy, solid car.
And what did you say? There was 1,600 some of these made?
Yeah, 1,690 of them made. You know, and what's really unique is to have a factory custom car come out off the assembly line. You know, that's almost unheard of in today's standard.
Now, a guy like you kind of sticks up over this windshield, John.
Yes, I was going to say I'm getting a headburn there.
It is really chopped down, but it is a low windshield.
Yeah, that's about 3-inch chop on this windshield, which really is unique for even doing things in those days. You know.
Yeah.
And when you consider, you know, all the interior room these old cars had versus what we have today, you know, they really did think of the people. I'll tell you.
As you can see, the light rain kept us from really enjoying this gorgeous car. So we decided to head back a little early to preserve this gem for generations to come.
Oldsmobile just turned 100. In a few minutes, we'll show you some of the gala celebration for America's oldest car company. The fine folks here in Lansing, Michigan sure know how to throw a non-stop 4-day party. The number of cars, events, and people have been overwhelming.
The Olds Motor Vehicle Company was officially established on August 21st, 1897 by Ransom E. Olds of Lansing, Michigan. Oldsmobile is the first American car company to celebrate 100 years in business, and they threw a huge 4-day party in Lansing.
Happy birthday, dear Oldsmobile. Happy birthday. All right.
Events included a birthday celebration, complete with cake, a 3-mile parade to the state capitol, a cruise around the city, and numerous car shows. There were more than 2,000 Oldsmobiles in town from all across the country. Just about every year and model was represented. And there were plenty of celebrities who came to join in the fun.
Oh, it's wonderful, all these Oldsmobiles.
You know, Darwin, as general manager of Oldsmobile, tell me about what the 100th anniversary, the 100th birthday means to Oldsmobile.
Well, I think it has many, many meanings. First, it's great to be the first American car company to reach 100 years of age, knowing that about 2,500 companies have tried and only a handful will ever get to that point. But I think it really shows that Oldsmobile has the ability to change to meet the needs of the customers that they're serving. And without that change, I think we would have been one of those 2,500 that didn't make it. So I think it really speaks highly to the Olds teams over the years that have really brought cars to the market that people want to buy.
Well, it certainly does, and there's certainly been quite an array of cars here at this event. It's huge.
Oh yeah, we've got 2,200 classic Oldsmobiles here. We'll have one of every production year except the 07 and the 014, or 07 and the 14. So we're literally got 100 years of production here for everybody to take a look at. So that in itself is just truly exciting.
I enjoyed looking at all the cars, but I was drawn to the curved dash models. After all, this was the car that put Oldsmobile on the automotive map, and getting behind the wheel, I mean tiller, sounded like a real treat. All I needed was a quick driving lesson.
So Keith, this is what started it all. This is the first mass-produced Olds?
First mass-produced Olds. Henry Ford came down and learned how to mass-produce cars, and came down and talked to Ransom E. Olds and looked at his curved dash Oldsmobile.
What year?
1904 curved dash. It's a fairly simple machine, basically made buggy type springs, all 4 horsepower.
And it's back here, right? The 4 horsepower
Yep.
engine.
Believe it or not, we even had hood latches back then in 1904 on the bottom. It's a fairly simple machine with a
one cylinder,
water cooled. It just puts along like an old tractor.
What was the transmission on it?
The transmission is a band type transmission, and it's got planetary gears for reverse.
So how does this baby start up?
Well, it's a manual crank right here. Cranks it.
Off to the side.
Off to the side. If you're good, you can do it by yourself.
I'm not that good.
Compression release here on the floor. This is your shifter, 2 speeds forward and 1 reverse. Then this is your spark advanced and retarded. And then this is your ignition, which is just basically 2 brass buttons that make contact to a small battery in the back there.
Well, what do you say we give it a go?
Hop up and we'll try it.
Aha! You know, they don't make them like this anymore. I think there's a reason for that. What a riot. Keith, this thing was a blast.
Great. Glad you could enjoy it, and glad you came to Lansing to enjoy Oldsmobile's 100th birthday.
It was our pleasure. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Dennis Gage. Thanks for tuning in to My Classic Car, home of the certified car nut. Today we're in the land of 10,000 lakes at the Treasure Island Resort in Red Wing, Minnesota. We're attending the Pontiac-Oakland Club International's 29th convention and celebrating the 75th anniversary of Pontiac. There's everything here, from the Oaklands of the early teens to the Pontiac muscle of the 60s and 70s. There's also some of the Pontiac movers and shakers, past and present, in attendance. To give us the inside scoop on all that's going on is Dave Bennett, co-chairman of this great event.
How you doing, Dennis?
Oh man, I'm having a good time. I'm a little warm though, Dave.
Well, you know, our snow just melted last week.
And boom, it's summer.
We got it.
Well, you got a great show going on.
Well, we've got upwards of 600 cars here, all the way from the old Oaklands to the brand new stuff.
And, you know, that's got to be one of the bigger POCI conventions ever, isn't it?
This is the biggest ever.
Man, and they're coming from where? From all over?
All over the United States. People are bringing cars in from Canada. We've got guests from as far away as Australia and England.
So there's Pontiac nuts all over the world, huh?
Certified Pontiac nuts.
You know, I respect that. I do. Well, it is a great setting too. How did you manage to get the convention?
Well, we've been in the planning phases for 3 years, and 2 years ago we were awarded the bid, and we're just really excited about it.
Oh, that's wonderful. And the turnout is a sort of a testament to how people like the
venue.
The
turnout is a record too.
That's great. Now, like I say, there's some longtime Pontiac celebs here.
Right. We got Arnie the Farmer Bestwick, and we're just really happy to have him here.
What a legend.
Oh yeah, what a legend is right. We got Linda Vaughn here, her shifter fame, signing autographs, lots of others.
But everybody seems to be having a real good time here. It seems like a real family type.
It's a family event, and it's a wonderful setting to have it, and we're excited.
Well, I'm a real sucker for the late 50s and early 60s. You got any special ones that I would look at?
I got to show you a 59 Bonneville convertible over here that's a real knockout, Dennis.
Lead on.
Okay.
The Pontiac-Oakland Club International 29th Convention had an excellent array of Pontiac and Oakland automobiles on tap for us to gaze at. One of my favorites was this gorgeous 59 Bonneville convertible.
Well now, Todd, this is a land yacht, a 59 Bonneville convertible. Oh, what a cruiser.
It's big, yep.
And it's beautiful. What a wild color. I've never seen it. What is this?
This is called Royal Amethyst. It's a factory color by Pontiac in 1959.
Well, this is it's a beautiful body style. I love this dual kind of almost inverted fin.
Yep, it was unique to Pontiac.
And this color, was it a Pontiac only color?
No, it was also shared with Oldsmobile as far as I know, but I'm pretty sure it was just Oldsmobile was the other division that had it, and Oldsmobile called theirs Burgundy Mist.
Burgundy, and this was, again, what was it?
Royal Amethyst.
Royal Amethyst. Oh, and it is indeed a divine 59.
It's a divine 59, yes.
Well, what possessed you to go after a 59?
Well, 59 styling is what I liked. I considered it kind of classic Americana. It was kind of the peak of Americana, where they had the fins and all the gadgets and the deluxe and big,
Well, and speaking of deluxe, that's leather, right?
That's
tricolor leather?
Tricolor leather that was designed specifically for this color.
Because it wouldn't go with anything
exactly.
else. Tissue dispenser, grab bar.
Yes.
Does it cruise just like?
Floats on air, yep.
Now, I got to believe it's a 389 power in this monster?
Yep, the 389 was, the first year 389 was introduced in 59, and it has the 389.
Open her up.
Okay.
Ooh, big air cleaner.
Yep, has the tri-power.
Oh, there's tri-power.
The tri-power's in there,
oh,
yes.
Yeah.
You see the big air cleaner, that's tri-power.
It floats and flies.
Floats and flies, yep.
So, did you restore it, or?
No, I bought it already restored. I was looking for something that I didn't have to do myself, and this was
fun.
One of the colors I wanted, and so yeah, I found it restored already.
That is great. We might, if you do drive it, maybe we'll go on cruising around. I think I'd look really good in this.
Oh, you'd look great in this, yes.
There was a little cloudburst that wet us down, but this did not discourage these tried and true car lovers. Just check out this vintage 1927 Pontiac Landau sedan. Or how about this pristine 1929 bright yellow Oakland Sport Roadster? There was also plenty of Pontiac muscle at this event, like this 67 GTO.
Gary, this is a beautiful car, 67 GTO convertible, a personal favorite. I had one in high school.
Yes.
Now, have you had this one long?
I've had it about 20 years.
How's that all? 20
yeah,
years?
20 years. I've restored it a couple of times.
Really?
I originally painted it white with a black convertible top, but later decided it needed to be back its original colors.
Oh, so, it's beautiful. This isn't a very common color. What is it?
Gulf turquoise.
Gulf turquoise. And then a turquoise interior.
Yes, the darker turquoise was a marina turquoise.
I've actually never seen this combo. It's just beautiful.
Yes.
Now you had, was pretty much the standard gauge package, right?
Yes, that's it. You got all the gauges and the tachometer in the dash and the vacuum gauge on the console.
Right.
And factory wood steering wheel was an option. And
4-speed shifter.
Right.
And those were Hurst shifters, factory
Exactly,
Hurst,
they
right?
sure were.
You got the red line tires, you got the PMT wheels, you got it right.
Right.
You really do.
It's all original.
Now, first year for the 400.
Yes, it is.
Let's open it up.
Okay.
Not a lot of difference between the 66 and 67, but this is one of them.
Right.
And I remember the valve covers and the air cleaner were chrome from the factory.
Well,
that was stock.
Exactly, and they went to the bigger heads in 67, and it was quite an improvement over the 389.
It's just beautiful. Now, you came up here from where?
Chillicothe, Missouri.
Wow. You having a good time at the...
Oh, we're having a great time. We were here for the GTO AA and had a good time for that. So I've been here eight days, I think.
Think you're just moving up here maybe with all these Pontiac nuts?
Well, no, we can't do that.
Now, do you drive this at all, or is it pretty much...
Just very little. Get it out once in a while just to kind of let it flex its muscles once in a while.
And it's got plenty of them. That's a beautiful car. Thanks, thanks so much, Gary.
Thanks, Dennis, for stopping by.
Oh, I couldn't pass it up.
You bet.
To tell the truth, there was a little bit of everything at this show. And to add to the excitement was the timeless Miss Hurst herself, Linda Vaughn, with her very cool customized Trans Am Hurst hauler.
You know, you won't find a better gathering of Pontiacs and Oaklands than you do at one of these POCI conventions. And the fact that it was Pontiac's 75th anniversary made it even more special. I particularly like seeing all those old GTOs. You know, this club always puts on an excellent show, so if you'd like to attend next year's event, just contact the Pontiac-Oakland Club International for registration and hotel information. We're here today in Pennsylvania for the first ever Carlisle GM Nationals. This will be the ultimate GM show. with General Motors celebrities, a special Yanko display, the unveiling of the 35th anniversary Camaro, and of course, as always, the Carlisle folks are giving away a car. Every GM mark will have its own spot to be proudly and independently displayed. And the GM Design Garage has opened up and brought some really tasty concept cars for us to drool over. Joining me now is Bill Miller, co-owner of Carlisle Events.
Welcome, Dennis. Nice to have you back to Carlisle again, especially to our first all GM Nationals.
Man, what a show. Now, you guys have been doing mark-specific shows for a while, the granddaddy of them all being Corvettes, and then, of course, you got a nice Ford show, a nice Chrysler show, but finally an all-GM show.
After 27 years, you know, we've been doing different shows all those different years. Everybody said to us, why don't you do a General Motors show? Well, guess what, Dennis? They talked us into it, and did they ever support us?
It's just amazing. Now, we're surrounded right now by Camaros, but I guess Camaro's the feature model this year, is that right?
That's correct. The Camaro Club of America has really been behind this event for a long time, trying to push us to do an all General Motors event, and they said, Bill, you do it, we're going to bring out the Camaros, and by darn, they sure did.
Yeah, I'm knee-deep in Camaros, but there's Buicks over there, and Pontiacs over there, and Oldsmobiles, I mean, Caddies, there's everything.
Absolutely, we've got support from every direction, and I'm sure you've seen the General Motors vehicles that are here. There's 36 General Motors archived vehicles, new vehicles, specially manufactured vehicles. We've got just the storehouse came from General Motors.
It's sort of hard to miss it, you know. but you really did get a lot of support from GM on this, baby,
Absolutely.
Didn't you? And the weather's fabulous. I mean, you couldn't ask for more.
We've hit the ultimate weekend.
You guys do it right.
Thank you.
Good first-time show. Now, what do you say we stroll around that car corral and see if we can find a car or two left for me?
There's still a car for Dennis, I'll guarantee.
All right, let's go.
The turnout at this first-time Carlisle All GM Nationals surprised me, and it surprised the Carlisle folks too. It just goes to show, you don't want to underestimate the GM fans. No matter what GM you fancy, this show had them.
Jack, 66 Toronado. First year for the car, right?
Correct.
This thing's just beautiful. I've always loved these. I mean, they're so big, but they still got good lines.
Yeah, they're a great car.
Now, why did you, why a Toronado?
We had these when I was driving to school. My mom always drove them. My dad raced them.
Your dad raced Toronados?
Yes.
Huh.
It was really different.
Maybe the first person I ever heard of that did that. But yeah, I mean, they're real cruisers, aren't they?
Oh yeah, it's a great road car.
Well, what all features do you have on this?
I've got just about every option they put on it. Air conditioning, tilt and travel steering column, power windows, power seat, AM/FM radio, rear defroster, power antenna, power trunk.
Jeez, wild speedometer. What's that, the barrel? Or?
Barrel. It's
yeah?
real easy to read. It's real nice. It just rolls right around.
Now, how long have you had this? When'd you buy it?
1983.
And where'd you find it?
Here at Carlisle.
Here at Carlisle. You found it at Carlisle. But what power's the 66?
425.
Oh, 425. Wow.
Yep.
Nice job on the engine bay, too.
Yeah, it looked a lot better 10 years ago, but...
but you drive it, right?
All the time. I put 11,000 miles on since I restored it.
Well, maybe we take it out for a spin later?
Sure.
Maybe I could drive it?
Sure.
You're too easy.
GM showed up in a big way with a boatload of concept cars past and present. We caught up with John Moss, manager of GM's Special Vehicle Group. Now this is a guy who has a job that's even more fun than mine.
Well, I've been called the master of the toy closet and a myriad of different names. And we have established, quite frankly, a really fine collection of not only historic vehicles, but some of these rare concepts to some of the production-based concepts. It's kind of interesting to see, like the Cyclone over there. That hasn't been seen a lot in many, many years. And also you bring that out and everybody just like stops them in their tracks. They say, wow, where did you see that thing? You've never seen it before.
There was a cornucopia of cool cars and trucks at this event. Just look at this stunning Skylark.
This is a beautiful 53 Buick Skylark. This is really a landmark car.
It sure is. It was Buick's 50th anniversary car.
Gorgeous. And you've had this for quite a while.
Since 1964.
Wow. Now, they didn't make many of them, right?
No, 1,690 to be exact.
That's
and they were all convertibles.
Is that right? Well, you've done a beautiful job in the restoration of it.
Thank you.
I want to see the trunk. Now, this came with the wire wheels, right?
Exactly. They came with the wire wheels. Kelsey Hayes made.
Hayes.
And tried to keep the original green on the spare. And
well, there's a lot of interesting design features on this car that were very different. The high radius wheel well.
Exactly. This was the only Buick in '53 that had it. And then in '54, they all had it. So everybody liked the design.
And it's also, I mean, it looks chopped.
It was chopped at the factory about 3 inches.
So it's a chopped, I mean, this thing was a rod coming off the
It
line.
was a custom coming off the line. If you'll notice, the rolled and pleated interior, some other things that a lot of the customizers had during the 50s.
Well, the interior is gorgeous. I mean, that's two-tone leather?
Two-tone leather. It came in 4 color combinations.
Now, this was the first year for the V8, too.
First year for the V8.
Let's look at it.
First year for the 12-volt. Notice the inside hood release,
yes,
which has come back recently.
Wow, that's that must be an oil bath.
It's an oil bath air cleaner, 322 cubic inches, 188 horsepower.
It's a beautiful car. Close her up. Maybe we'll take it out. Man, if the Carlisle All GM Nationals doesn't quench your thirst for cool GM cars, nothing will. All these GM makes and models gathered together in one place was truly a beautiful thing. And how about those radical GM concept cars? If you're interested in attending this event, or any of the fine Carlisle events, just contact the folks at Carlisle for registration and hotel information. Hi, this is Dennis Gage. Thanks for tuning in to My Classic Car, home of the certified car nut. Well, today, we're at the GM Tech Center in Warren, Michigan for the 16th annual Eyes on Design Automotive Design Exhibition. The big 3 auto manufacturers and several of the independent guys have joined forces to bring us a phenomenal event celebrating the spirit and form of vehicle design. Now, to give us the background is none other than the VP of GM Design himself, Wayne Cherry. Wayne, what an amazing grouping you've got here.
Dennis, we are so pleased that you're here, and we're so pleased that all these people are here today. This is fantastic.
It is really kind of the ultimate congregation of design cars. I mean, has this ever happened before?
I think this is once in a lifetime. We've got over 400 vehicles, but over 125 of those vehicles are concept vehicles. Now, this will be the largest gathering of concept vehicles in one event, probably in the history of the automotive industry. So from a design perspective, it doesn't get much better than that.
You've died and gone to heaven.
Oh.
Well, and also the underpinnings of this event. I mean, there's a charitable foundation behind all this, too.
Yeah, and that's why it's been such a marvelous relationship over the 16 years, because Eyes on Design really is a benefit for the Detroit Institute of Ophthalmology. This event really is our primary source of revenue.
A fabulous event for a fabulous cause. Everything from the very earliest in design to some of the latest, like we're standing by the Cadillac 16, which is sort of your baby, wasn't it?
Well, I certainly had a lot to do with it. I spent a lot of time with it, but we had a great design team. We've got tremendous design talent at GM Design, and as you know, as we've rolled out the new Cadillac Vision and the new production cars that are coming into the market, the concept vehicles played a big role.
You're seeing an awful lot in them. Now, there's some great features. Can you show me some of the fine points of this baby?
Absolutely. Let's start with the front.
The Eyes on Design event is in its 16th year and rotates locations yearly between the big 3 automakers, Ford, GM, and Chrysler. This is truly an incredible gathering of one-of-a-kind concept and dream cars. Not only were there tons of fabulous cars, the event is also a major fundraiser for the Detroit Institute of Ophthalmology. How appropriate that this visual display benefits eye health. And let me tell you, this Rolls-Royce is pretty easy on the eyes.
Bob, this is fabulous. Very purple, too. It's a 37 Rolls, right?
37 Rolls-Royce V12 Phantom 3 chassis.
With a real aero streamlined design.
Right. We ran across a sketch of Van Voren. He had done some streamline work on Bentleys and Phantom 2s. Never did a V12 chassis. So we took his sketch, laid it out, full-size body loft, and laid it out over this chassis, 142-inch monster.
So this was designed in the 30s but never built.
Correct.
You built this in your shop.
This was built at Elcars in Cameron, Wisconsin by our craftsmen. Yeah.
I love the doors in it. Can I open this?
You go right ahead. Just be ready. It's a door.
Oh, it's a door and a half. Lays back
just
there.
Notice how it lays down. It just kind
does.
of draws you in like a funnel.
It's very inviting.
Yeah,
I mean, you just want to go into it, don't you?
Right. That's all black walnut and all Scottish leather, just the finest of materials, just as they did in the coach building period.
Incredible. Oh, what a beautiful sound.
That's it, ain't it?
It is incredible. Now these aero cars, these streamlined cars, were usually smaller than this.
Oh yeah, usually on 100-inch wheelbase cars, you know, like the Talbots, and everything was done small and aerodynamic. What really captured us was to be able to execute this kind of a body design on a large wheelbase. Like I said, this is a 6,500-pound car, 19.6 foot long.
It is a beautiful thing. A 30s concept car built today.
Today, yeah.
Nice work, Bob.
Thanks.
There should be no surprise that we ran into Chip Foose, one of today's premier car designers. Chip's latest work is a 1935 Chevy Grand Master with a Corvette LT4 engine. As Chip modestly says, he started with a good design, then just took the ugly out of it. We know he did a lot more than that. Way to go, Chip. I give it 2 thumbs up. This next car was so breathtaking, it stopped me in my tracks. I've never seen one of these little numbers before.
Ed, this is wild. I mean, this is a wild car. It's a 54 Hudson Italia.
Correct.
Man, it's the sexiest looking Hudson I've ever seen.
Yeah, it looks pretty good.
It does look pretty good. Now, how did you come to be involved in Eyes on Design?
They gave me a call. They were looking for concept cars, and they wanted to have a Hudson here.
And this would be that. But this wasn't a one-off, right?
They built 26 of these. 26.
And are they fiberglass or they?
It's all aluminum, built in Italy, on a Hudson jet platform with the aluminum body put on it in Italy.
Aluminum body, Italian, must have a heck of a power plant.
Oh, it's got a huge 202 cubic
202 cubic inch.
But it's got 2 carburetors.
Oh, wow, okay.
That probably helps.
One for each 100
That's right.
100 cubic inch, huh? Well, how long have you had it?
I've had it 7 years, restored it in the last 2.5 years.
How many are left? There can't be many.
There still are really about 20 of them out of the 26.
Wow. And whatever got you into something this like? How'd you even know about it?
As a kid, I saw one when I was 12 years old, and I decided I gotta have one of those.
Wow,
so it's a dream come true for me.
It is so Italian. The interior,
It's got seat belts, which is pretty unique for a 54.
Absolutely.
And the radio over here on the passenger side, it's kind of unique also.
I love the tail lights. These kind of, I don't know.
almost like exhaust pipes.
It is. It's almost like pipes out, and because the top 2 are red, you're throwing flames, huh? So who did the body? It was Touring?
Touring did the body, designed by Frank Spring, Hudson's chief engineer.
Absolutely stunning. So you had a good time at Eyes here?
Had a great time.
Fabulous.
Great time.
A lot of people checked this one out?
Oh yeah, lots of pictures.
Yeah, I can believe that. Man, it's a beautiful car. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Thomas.
Well, I have to hand it to GM. They sure did a fantastic job of hosting the Eyes on Design event. And what a great way to celebrate 75 years of automotive design. Jay Leno always has a project in the works, like this steam-powered 1925 Doble. But today, he wanted to show me his latest toy, a beautiful 1955 Buick Roadmaster with a twist. This car is very special to Jay, as you'll find out.
I love this car. This car has been with me, drove me to my first Tonight Show, my first Merv Griffin show.
So 30 some odd years, you've had it the whole time? You didn't go away and come back?
No, I've had it the whole time. I didn't sell it. It did sit for about 16 years in my mother-in-law's driveway while I, had affairs with fancier cars and Lamborghinis. But you always come home to your Buick Roadmaster. But it's not stock by any sense.
Well, it looks stock from the outside, and it looks like a beautiful restoration.
Well, that's the tree. That's the trick, rather. It's all stock from the outside. Underneath, the suspension is all C5 Corvette, so it really, really handles. The engine is a big block crate motor from GM Performance Parts, 572 cubic inch. It's 620 horse, 630 foot-pounds of torque.
My gosh.
It's really, really fast. There's a lot of illusions on this car that you don't notice at first. Like, take a look at these wheels. Actually, that's a 17-inch wheel. That's your 17-inch wheel. I'll give you an idea how much bigger it is than the stock wheel. I mean, it fits right in there.
Now, with that kind of mod on the wheel and your running gear being C5 Corvette, you must have something to match that under the hood.
Yeah, the engine's a General Motors crate motor. These days, you can go to you can spend a fortune having somebody do your piston, somebody else do your cam, or just buy a big block motor. That's what I did here. This is
basically drop it in, ready to go.
And you drop it in, it's 620 horse.
It's a Leno 572.
Well, that's Jack Roush. Jack Roush has a rather bizarre sense of humor, and they made up those valve covers for me. I normally don't put my name on things, but you know, they did that.
It
and
does
was,
look good, though. You know,
Yeah,
you got to admit.
No, that was fun. That was very nice of them to.
So
and,
what all?
And the engine serial number is also my birthday, which is kind of cool.
So what all is that engine sporting?
Well, it's a carbureted motor, which I wanted to keep. I didn't want to, I wanted to keep at least in the spirit of the 50s. My friend Bernard, our foreman here at the shop, Bernard Juckley, he made these headers. They're all equal length headers out of stainless steel. He hand fabricated those. He did a beautiful, beautiful job.
Right here in the shop?
Yeah, right here in the shop.
It must run pretty strong.
It runs pretty strong. I'll show you the interior. I also went with the original style fabrics.
Oh, yeah, that's beautiful.
You can see the Corvette pedals. That kind of gives it away. Now, it looks like the stock radio in the dash, and that is the stock radio in the dash, but what we've done is, you see, you drop the grill down, and you've got your modern
nice little secret audio in there.
Secret audio, and the folks at Vintage Air, they do a great job with this vintage air conditioning. That looks almost stock.
It does. It fits right in with the motif.
Another little touch we did here was, see, we welded these onto the dash. We handmade these. Now, these look stock as well, but these didn't exist in 55. It's a stock dash. Then we just welded that on and formed it and put the little...
But it fits right in.
It fits right in, yeah, so it looks totally stock.
Now, was this the original color scheme of the car?
No, the car, when I got it, was white and black. It was white, black. And then in 72, oh, no, I guess 73, 74, I painted it silver and black.
A very nice combo.
Well, I like this. I mean, nothing against all the candy apple colors, but those slip down. I didn't want it to look like a hot rod. I liked it.
Oh,
This was sort of the businessman's express.
It really was.
This is when Buick was really Buick. I mean, I would put this car up against any of the European Mercedes of the period, or even the Bentleys of the period. These cars had electric windows. They had air conditioning.
Oh, they were stately.
You had that Dynaflow transmission, which was, although not particularly fuel efficient, extremely smooth. Nothing rode like one of these. I mean, Buick was the epitome of the boulevard ride, you know.
So now you've turned it into a Canyon Carver, though, with this.
Yeah, it
with the
actually
suspension,
handles
right?
with the Corvette C4 and C5 suspension parts in it. It's all independent suspension, Corvette rear end. Yeah, it's fast.
Looks stock. Doesn't sound stock. Coming out here in 72, buying a 55 Buick seems, I mean, it's kind of an odd thing. I mean, why? Or is that...
Well, I was just looking for cheap cars in the recycler that would be fun, and I saw this. I wasn't looking for a 55 Buick. It just seemed like, oh, okay, that'd be a good car, you know. You can sleep in it if you have to, and it's big enough, you know.
It's amazing you hung on to it all those years.
Well, I've never sold anything. Everything I still have is in my garage. I'm even still married to the same woman. Good heavens, when does that ever happen? I would have had the same cat, except it died.
Then it was time for my turn behind the wheel. And believe me, this is not your granddaddy's Buick. This baby had some serious punch.
You know, when you decided to do this to it, you wanted to restore it, but you just really wanted to see how high it was up?
Yeah, I just thought it'd be fun. I mean, GM had all this stuff, and I thought, why not take advantage of it? Why not make it a modern car? And the nice thing is, I mean, it's just a byproduct of it. You now have a car that pollutes less because you've got a modern crate motor that's more efficient. So you actually have a car that is not only more fun, it's more socially responsible.
Can I punch it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that's socially responsible. Yeah. Oh, Jay, this thing's a kick.
Yeah, it's hilarious. It's hard to improve on the original design. Harley, Earl, and the boys knew what they were doing.
They did have it together.
Yeah, I mean, this car was designed by designer. I mean, you can put bucket seats and all that in it, but it just kind of ruins it for me. This is what I remember. So this is what I like.
Sitting at a stoplight, though, people look over it and they see this 55, but they're hearing something else.
Actually, one guy said, "Hey, sounds like your car needs a tune-up." I went, "Yeah, okay, thanks, appreciate it."
Running a little rough, isn't it?
Yeah, thanks.